see in our last event, it felt like almost every single mobile suit was used, except with that one consideration of the competitive quarantine of Zakuto Melee. But Tekka Dynasty, we got to see some absolute bangers of highlights when it came to Harbor City, in particular when it came down to kind of Unicorn along with GM Sniper play.
Oh, yeah. I don't know why it's just always a highlight map, but also Colony Trading Post. I know we love this map. I mean, visually, the two maps that have been picked are my favorites in the game, just as far as visuals, but there's going to be a lot more wide open fights compared to the maps that have banned. We're also seeing Mountain R&D banned and Quarry banned. Quarry, one of the more close range fighting maps, I would say, of the destruction missions. And the decider will be Underground Command Center. So we're going to go to some pretty long range fights, I'd say, overall, until we get to, I mean, I guess even when we do get to the decider, if we do end up getting to that, I think we're going to see a lot more today, just making a guess, than we're used to. I think we're seeing a lot of these teams get a lot closer as far as like parity and closeness of skill. So I think we're going to see a lot less of the 2-0s, but hey, we'll see. I might be wrong. I've been wrong on that before.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, we kind of always run that 2-0 curse when it comes to these events, right? And up until we get to basically our grand finals in our both lower bracket and our upper bracket. But right now, I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to be seeing any of the domination maps in our first match. Hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that later on, because I feel like those are some of the more fun maps in general when it comes down to competitive play, especially with how the maps are set up in terms of symmetry and the way that teams really have to play around their positioning for that. But I'm really excited about these first two map picks as well. Like we said, starting it off on Harbor City, then moving on to Colony Trading Post. And if we do get that deciding map, it will be Underground Command Center. So just keeping that all in mind, it's going to be what, 2 destruction maps at that point, along with Harbor City starting it all off on first. What do you think we can expect when it comes to Harbor City? Are there going to be any major shifts to the meta when it comes to Harbor City?
I am very curious. So one thing that I believe this is true, I didn't just make it up in my head just right now, is that Heavy Arms has 0 damage fall off as far as range, or if it does have a damage fall off, it's really, really, really far away, just from my small testing and training. Now, it's not very accurate from far away, but it'll be interesting to see if potentially we see some of it just as far as damage going into the, especially the defensive position on that first push, or maybe a little bit later, just because the flame grenades can do well in that choke, and just of course just spraying the entire like, you know, I mean, you don't even have a magazine, but your entire heat of bullets, your heat range of bullets into that choke is going to be amazing. But you know what, we'll see, because we're going to get these players set up very, very soon. We're going to go to a quick break before that, so don't go anywhere, because we're going to start with our first match of Best of the West when we get back.
All right, welcome back to the Gundam Evolution New Type League best of the West. Excuse me. We are starting it off with our first streamed match of the day, Tekka Dynasty versus Char, and it will be taking place, of course, our first map here on Harbor City.
Oh, and I'm very excited to see what we're going to see. As far as comps, it looks like right now we are going to see Hawklight here on the Gym Sniper. We're, of course, going to be expecting some Gym Sniper play. Actually, before we even talk about comps, I want to talk really quickly about these teams. Of course, we are very familiar with Team Tekka Dynasty. They've been playing in all these tournaments. And on the other side, Char is an offshoot of Team Mafty. So a lot of these names are going to be here. We've got some incredible players, Zyros, David. I mean, it's just they have too many players that are extremely strong. So that's the history. They're called Team Char for this tournament. It's an offshoot, but here we go. We're looking at the Hyperion right now, which is still great to see after it got a few less bullets in its clip.
Yeah. But either side, they will be running the Gym Sniper throughout. It does seem like it's a pretty big shift in terms of compositions. We do have Tank Line, though, coming out from either side with the Sazabi. Main difference, though, we have Enders. He's going to be playing on that Dom Trooper, so they'll have a little bit of extra support in that regard. You can see now Aesor making his cross on over, the rest of the team waiting. You see the defensive side of Char actually holding back in that traditional pocket that we see. Both teams just really sizing each other up, really no one ready to take the initiative quite yet, and there they go.
It's all going to come down to a big push, but ooh, some shots out of the air. Offbeat Alligator just barely getting away. It's going to be a Sazabi fight over on the side, but gets picked off by Hawklight. We got the Sazabi versus Sazabi. We've got the Gym Sniper for the Gym Sniper, and in the end, it looks like we're going to have a pretty strong push here on the side of Team Tekka Dynasty.
That was beautiful space created by Aesor there, just pushing up and applying pressure on to that Gym Sniper, allowing Hawklight to come in from the flank, find that angle, take him out, alleviate the basic sniper pressure there. Now they are onto the point, about to get the first pick. A robot chasing one more down. Should be able to finish him off fairly shortly here, getting a little bit closer. There it is. He will finish him off, and that's going to be point A, largely going the way over towards Tekka Dynasty. There is some defense coming out from Char, but typically we see that once you're pushed back from this spot, it's incredibly hard to try and retake as a defense.
It looks like there's gonna be an attempt to at least challenge here, but this is only 3. This is 3 versus the full 6. I'm surprised they're actually going for this. This might end up being a little bit of a stagger. They are going to at least get a down, but it does look like there was a repair on board, and I'm not sure that was exactly worth it. There was so few time left. They've got a few people left in this choke to defend, and luckily they're gonna get a few picks on the side of Char, so this is not gonna be a full stagger. They're gonna be able to get back here in time to protect this choke, but that was a pretty risky play.
It was risky, but they did have just enough presence there to make sure that, no, they weren't going to allow them to push through the bridge for free. You can see now, playing off of the second half of the map now, through this first choke point is probably one of the most important ones in the map. You have, looks like Codename Move going in for a point now on that Ashtamar, trying to get to the back line, but he will not be able to get any downs. That's going to be 3 coming in for Char, pushing them back once again. And it looks like, you know, the time advantage actually works out for Char as well. They brought them down to 3.5 minutes here, which a lot of times, you know, we see teams kind of steamroll through point A to move instantly into point B.
Yeah, it's a good hold, definitely a good hold spot. It's really interesting to see some, I mean, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but we've got some players that are on some different suits that we're not used to seeing. For example, David, very well known for the Sazabi, is on the new Gundam, which is a suit that we didn't get to see all that much. But we'll see if it does come into play, especially with the G maneuver of the new Gundam. That can be great for pushing through this choke point. However, they're still down a man already with that pick from Offbeat Alligator, and Zyros as well getting one. So they're going to have to regroup one more time here before they're going to get this push with 3 to 4 potentially G maneuvers.
Lumiere was used, I believe, by Char, but really that was all they actually committed onto this one. They're going to have the Screaming Nimbus along with the Ashmar Punch and the funnels for Kaiser coming in off the Alligator, just a few shots away from being able to get the Wall Export squad as well. But they have the tools to try and hold it. We'll see, though, on the other side, Nostalgia is working his way towards that butterfly. Could be the big breakthrough that Tekka Dynasty need to get through this choke point for now, but you can see how much pressure the Ashmar puts onto these choke points.
Yeah, this is just so tough to get through. For anybody who's not as familiar with watching this map, this is one of the hardest choke points in the entire game on any map. That's going to be a punch. Zyros is going to get a pick from that, and it's going to be followed up by David and the rest of the team. There's 4 assists on that one down, but this is going to be an aggressive push on the side of the defense, and that is nearly a full team wipe, maybe a full team wipe, not allowing them to get any sort of advantage, and time is starting to run out here for Team Tekka Dynasty after a great first push.
There's a minute 47 seconds now remaining on the clock for Char to try and get to point B. Now, excuse me, for Tekka Dynasty to get to point B. Now, they do have a lot in the tank. They've got 4 G maneuvers online right now. They don't have the Screaming Nimbus, which is typically what you want to use here, but it's a butterfly that they're going to try and open up with. You can see, though, that Char do back away to end up going down to that butterfly, but the trades are still coming in good from the defense right now as Enders, Kaiser, Pittsburgh. Now, there is a repair, and so they can continue to try and push through, but David is here on the front line. He does get caught up from behind and will get taken out. Now, Tekka Dynasty, with a minute left to go, are finally on the point.
Oh yeah, that was I mean, they had to split up to deal with that butterfly, the turn A G maneuver, but when they did, they weren't able to use that new Gundam shield effectively, the G maneuver of its own, so now they're going to have to come in a little bit staggered, but you were talking about the Screaming Nimbus, only on one side of this map do they have it, and they use it very well defensively. There's going to be 2 picks on the side of Char, 3 picks, and it looks like they may not even be able to get that first single tick. There's 40 seconds left on the clock. They're not going to have very much time to regroup. They might be able to get back for one more push, but that's a huge stagger. Hawklight going down is very unfortunate, especially with the fact that it has the G maneuver, has the Screaming Nimbus available.
Yeah, and they have 20 seconds remaining now, just waiting for the respawns. You can see the rest of Char just pushing up, and it's going to be an early Screaming Nimbus coming out from Hawklight, and they are right on the top of them. They do back away just a bit. That's going to be some exchanges. Azor ends up going down throughout all of that, and Hawklight is the only one left here trying to contest the points. 8 seconds remaining. Unruly has to touch it for his team. And you do have that Hades running out for him. Nostalgia ends up falling now, left in a 1v2. Unruly will fall. And it doesn't seem like Tekka Dynasty will be able to secure a tick here on point B. Char with a beautiful defense on the second half here of Harbor City.
Wow, it really looked like I thought they were going to at least get maybe a tick or 2 ticks when they did make that huge push with the turn AG maneuver, but they just weren't quite able to. Now, again, we haven't seen Team Char play as a full team ever, right? This is the first time that they're playing as an individual team here. They're a little bit of an offshoot of Mafty. They're still, all of these players still on Mafty. There's just so many players that they could enter with multiple teams. But we now see that they do contain a lot of that skill that they had before of basically, even if you get team wiped, the recovery is so good on these players. Like, their ability to sit at a disadvantage is incredible, and they did not let that huge push, stagger them or make them, play from the back foot. They just immediately came back and battled it and won, and just didn't even let them get a tick. Amazing stuff from Char first showing.
Yeah, and when it comes down to, of course, just playing at a competitive level, at a higher level than what you would expect on like the ranked ladder or so, right? It was great to see that they did have pretty good G maneuver economy, right? They weren't blowing everything into one push at a time. They were making sure they at least had an extra tool in the back pocket to utilize. There was one fight where I believe they used maybe 3-4 G maneuvers for their defense, but they were holding on to a Screaming Nimbus as well, which is another tool to utilize when it comes to playing off that choke. So the Ashmar Punch, the Screaming Nimbus, those are 2 of the biggest tools that we really keep an eye out for. Make sure that teams don't really try to, use it all in one fight, and that's what we were not seeing. So that was a good sign, but here we go. We're swapping sides now. It's going to be Tekka Dynasty here on the defense. They're going to go back towards, of course, more traditional compositions when we do see them. They do have the Methas coming in as a support line, but on the other side for Char now here on the offense, they're going to be sticking basically with the comp they had on the defense.
No changes. A little bit surprising. Great pick from Hawklight onto Zyros off the bat. A robot as well. A robot's turret, actually, along with the assist of every single person on the team, is going to take down somebody as well. That was very well coordinated. The 7th member of the team putting in a lot of work, but that is already a first push completely held off The sniping from Hawklight put in a ton of work in making them, making the first push, I guess I should say, of the last side change go very, very well for Tekka Dynasty, and it looks like it's working very well on defense, but Codename Moon going down. Hawklight evening it up once again, though. The MVP right now, Hawklight for sure, 3 picks.
Yeah, he's been holding this off angle for his squad. You saw the bulk of the defense for Tekka Dynasty playing off that main road, but Hawklight was basically playing around these double buildings in the back corner here this entire time, just kind of fading the squad out, leaving them vulnerable to basically a flanking sniper. They just walked into that position. And so now Char already down to 2 minutes and 45. Zyros is going to try and find an angle with that play, but Hawklight once again is able to take him out. Hasn't finished him off quite yet, but there we go. They'll be able to destroy that unit, but now he is under pressure. They're about to lose out on possibly a second unit. There it is, offbeat Alligator taking out this sniper counterpart, and really will be the next one to fall. It looks like Char will find that opening, and they'll get onto point A.
It's almost inevitable, I would say. Most teams find point A at some point during this match because all it takes is a few picks on offense, and the run back is so long, one of the longest run backs in the entire game, and it can just be tough, exactly like this. But I still think that was a really good hold, considering the fact that they now need to hold for a very, very long time on point B. Devotion just sitting there waiting and shielding so that nobody gets picked off on the run across the bridge. I like that a whole lot. But here we go. This is the choke point that we couldn't see Tekka Dynasty get through. It's time to see if Char can do it themselves.
Yeah, the scary part here is that it looks like when they do swap on over for Tekka Dynasty, it's going to be, I believe, Hawklight swapping on over to that Dom. So he's going to be at a huge advantage when it comes to Enders on that Dom Trooper, right? He's already been able to build up 60%. On the other side now, he's got to do it fresh. And now with 3 picks there for Char, they should be able to push him for free. Azor is not out here. Doesn't look like his axe connect, and he will fall to that flank coming up from Zyros as well. They're just finding stackers left and right. Nostalgia needs to stay alive. He's got the butterfly, and this could be just a big defense coming out for him. He's gonna pop it as his team comes on in, but he gets instantly focused down. Offbeat Alligator fighting him mid-air. Only the one trade, and that will be it. Char will walk away with our first map.
I love this. I talked about this in a previous event, but I love the fact that it went from that butterfly turn A G maneuver being a basically unstoppable force of a G maneuver that can wipe entire teams to every team having such a quick and fast answer to it. That's just one of those things where you can clearly see how well everybody's leveled up, and that could have been a disastrous spot, right? There were so many people on point. They were all grouped up, but the turn and the focus on the turn A was beautiful. It was absolutely perfect. A great offense from Team Char. And, you know, I got to say, of course they're going to win. They were on the red side. I think if you got to beat them, you got to make sure that they're on the blue side, right? I think that's the only way.
Yeah, it's that red comet advantage, right? It's just the red comet advantage. And so it's basically home field advantage. But great showing out there for our first map coming out from Char. Absolutely stellar defense, of course, into that great offense on the turnaround in the second half of the map. We got to see 2 different looks coming out from both squads, which is already something that I'm absolutely loving seeing, that it wasn't the same compositions coming out from either side. We're seeing swaps as well coming out from Tekka Dynasty when they were swapping between A and B, whether it was on offense or on defense too. So it kind of goes to show that, you know, for a lot of our pilots, for a lot of our competitors, they need to have a depth of pool when it comes to the mobile suits that they can actually pilot in here. And we're seeing some great things out of a lot of our players.
I got to point out once again, I mean, I know that we're only 1 game into this set so far, but Hawklight seems like the MVP to me. Very familiar with Hawklight on the Dom, of course. We've seen Hawklight on Dom for almost every single event that's been run for Gundam Evolution, but seeing the Hawklight Gym Sniper was very impressive. I hope we get to see it more in the future, especially with just how many picks it managed to get. But we'll see if we get one on the next map, which will be the Trading Colony. But before that, we're going to go to a short break, so don't go anywhere as we get this next map set up.
All right, welcome back to the Best of the West, presented by the Gundam Evolution New Type League. We are moving on to our second map of the first match of the day. Team Char were able to get that win on Harbor City as we move on to Colony Trading Post.
Ooh, Colony Trading Post, a map that we have only seen still a few times, but I gotta point out, you know, we might see some Zaku play. We're gonna see on the side of Team Char, who is still, of course, on that red side, still got that advantage. We've got a few different, oh, hello, settings screen, but we can talk about the fact that we've seen so many suits that we haven't had a chance to see before. It looks like there might be, no, we're not gonna have a restart, just making sure, but we have potentially I mean, there were some Zaku 2 range buffs that were very, very strong. Of course, being able to get back a full bar of boost gauge when you use the smoke, the invincibility. We see the new Gundam getting some buffs as well because it was taking so much damage, and now we're seeing it from David very, very well. I'm very excited to see that. We're seeing just, I mean, the variety of suits is so amazing. I'm glad that we're going to see it, but here, let's see how it goes on Colony.
Yeah, it's interesting to see it, especially on the defense. It's going to be Tekka Dynasty starting off on the offense once again. Hawklight, though, this time around, does get to start off, of course, on that Dom Trooper for his squad. It looks like they will be trying to get that waypoint first, and Char will just go ahead and give that one away for free. We don't typically see teams fighting for that. They're just going to play on the top side here on A site, and they have to drop down to B if that's where Tekka Dynasty want to push up.
You can't commit too much to that defense for sure. We've seen a few teams try to commit a lot of defense to that checkpoint, and it just ends up coming back to bite them. But right now, we're not seeing a ton of huge pushes, but here we go. This is going to be the first big push. That is a juicy flame grenade.
Yeah, but as they try to push in, Tekka Dynasty ends up losing out on 2 members. Unruly only finds 1 before he trades away. It looks like he's going to have to back away from now on the game. With a little bit of help there in the back line, we'll be able to finish off the rest of Tekka Dynasty. And that's going to be the first push for Tekka Dynasty going down. Char will be able to still maintain control over here. You can see now Omni James, he's going to be playing on that Zaku 2 range we were talking about earlier before. And this is what I really did want to see. I wanted to see how the Zaku 2 range plays out, because typically that is a unit that has to kind of play on its own and has to be its own kind of support. And so we'll see if maybe Tekka Dynasty can try and take advantage of that, or if it's going to be too slippery.
Oh, right now, they barely even got the chance. They're getting focused so heavily when they even get into that choke point. But it does seem like we've got a few players of Tekka Dynasty getting already on the point. They're getting past that little choke point. But it's very, very scary to try and plant on the bottom side when there's still players above their grace that you completely shoot through. It does look like 2 members of Tekka Dynasty are going to be going down 3. There are some trades. This isn't the worst thing in the world. I believe it's a 3v3 on the point. So we've got a skirmish.
Yeah, off the Alligator is here, and he does not get down his heel in time. Tekka Dynasty slowly pick apart the defense, but they are not really in position to plant that Mega Charge safely. It does look like Nostalgia finally does have some backup. We'll be able to get that down. So the Mega Charge now down on point A above. We have only 1 G maneuver online for the defense, but it could be a huge one if Tekka Dynasty find themselves basically clumped up for that Heat Hot Slash, but it's going to be David getting that first pick onto Codename Mood. Now, Omni James trying to work here on the fringes with that Zaku 2 range as another pick comes out, and it looks like he didn't even have to use that Heat Hawk Slash for it. And as the members of Char end up cleaning out Tekka Dynasty, they're taking their time. They will get that disarm on the Mega Charge.
There was a decent amount of time on the Mega Charge. Now, this is a weird map, right? And like in the last map that we saw in Harbor City, I say all the time, oh, actually, we're going to have a little bit of a fight here. Omni James going to really commit in, but that is the power of that new buff. You can use all of your boost meter and then use the smoke grenade and get a free boost meter to get out of there. It is so much harder to lock down Zaku 2 ranged. I love to see it. But like I was saying, you can very easily just not take any of these points. Every single point here is very, very difficult to take on this map. So getting some time on that first detonation is pretty strong, but here we go.
Screaming Nimbus right up to the top line. Now there are a few more G maneuvers on the other side. The Heat Hawk Slash onto Unruly to take him out, and that's going to be a 2-for-1 exchange, but they end up getting the repair as well to get Unruly back into the fray with a minute remaining now. It looks like Tekka Dynasty are looking to clean up the last remaining members of Char, but on the flank. Azor ends up falling here. Mega Charge does go down once again onto point A as Kaiser finds a pick onto Unruly once more. So he's gonna have to run back clean from the backside with Omni James here as well, looking to try and find them. But you can see they're still mounting up a defense here on the retake now. Kaiser going in, he's got his G maneuver activated as well, and it looks like it might be another successful retake coming out from Char. Azor's gonna try and push in with his own G maneuver, but he does end up going down now with the disarm. There's only 28 seconds remaining here for Tekka Dynasty. Will they be able to get that charge down once more?
They have to push pretty quickly here. They're not going to have a lot of time, and we're going to see Enders popping off with the G maneuver. The Screaming Nimbus is going to be a very aggressive option just to try to keep everybody off of the point. We're seeing most of the team of Char just push up completely into that choke point as we're trying to sneak behind, flying with the axe, but I don't know if there's going to be enough time. Attempting a plant right here. Azor is barely alive, and there will be a Mega Charge going down.
Yeah, Unruly also able to top off his team. Never mind, they're going down around him. They end up losing out on two. Unruly and Azor, the only two remaining members here. You can see Omni James on that Zaku 2 range finally does fall, but now it's coming down to the last remaining members of Tekka Dynasty here as another Mega Charge defuse ends up going down. Codename Moody, can he stop it? No! The body block is there, and Char will put a stop to them here. It does seem like, though, Tekka Dynasty, we're about to get able to get close to 50, maybe 60% on that Mega Charge.
Right, and that can be honestly enough. If your defense is strong enough, that can be enough on this map for sure. We've seen a lot of great teams not be able to take that first point at all. The visibility sightlines defensively from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top are both so good. It's going to be so difficult to actually get a safe plant off or to defend it once you've actually planted it. So the fact that they've got 60%, very strong. I do have to say, though, I mean, you can just even see from the damage, Omni James on that Zaku 2 range did a lot of the damage, was really able to use the fact that there are a lot of these really short sight lines and the ability to kind of sneak behind corners if you have that level of mobility. So I'm glad to see that. And hold on, we see potentially the first heavy arms being hovered over currently. Oh, no. Wait, it's still there, Nostalgia? Potentially on the heavy arms. I'd be really excited to see that if that's true.
Yeah, for the defense, I mean, it could definitely work because, like you said, you were talking about the sight lines. We're working in a lot of close to mid-range areas here. So if we're going to see the heavy arm come out, definitely on the defense, it'll be fantastic. It applies a lot of pressure onto Sazabis. We're seeing a lot of importance being put onto Sazabis from either side, being able to properly support that. That's going to be the most important part. But with the fact that we're not seeing as many supports coming out in terms of our compositions, right? In the past, we would see Dom with a secondary support like a Unicorn or a Methus. That's not something that happens anymore. So we do have the Methus this time around for a robot. So he'll be that extra little bit of heal that Azor might be able to need, along with that extra pressure onto the shield of Kaiser on the other side. But here we go. We've got Char now pushing out for their first offensive push. Waypoint already, of course, going the way of Char, but that does just mean that Tekka Dynasty will be playing here on that high ground, just waiting out Nostalgia. He's got his quads basically out here, and he does have the sightline to work around it, but Zyros ends up finding that first pick, a robot to go down, but he does get instantly rezzed up. Omni James still sticking on that Zaku 2 range, finds another pick, and now Char looking to try and close things out here in map number 2.
Oh, yeah, what a great push all the way through. Devi doing a ton of the damage. You love to see the new Gundam. Not the newest suit anymore, but still one that we very rarely get to see. And that is going to be nearly a full team wipe. Azor and Codename Mood are both up, but I believe some of them are running back. And this is going to be tough. There's not a lot of time to be able to try and get this defuse on the Mega Charge. There's one chance to regroup, and even then, they're barely going to have that opportunity. Zyros is going to be trying to get a lot of this little extra damage. Codename Mood is going down pretty heavily here. Hawklight low as well, a robot low. Nobody is healthy, and they need to be in there now.
Yeah, 5 seconds remaining. Someone just needs to make a miracle play. Azor gets stopped as he tries to rush on in, and that's the Mega Charge going off. Char will go ahead and take our first victory of the day. That's going to be a 2-0 for them, sending Tekka Dynasty down to the lower bracket.
A great first showing for this team. They've, again, like I've mentioned, never played as a team before. As an individual team, it's great to see them. And we do see the MVP on the Zakutu range. That's one of my favorite MVP poses as well. Great stuff to see. They were able to just so quickly push through that point. I mean, Tekka Dynasty played great as well. They were really close in a lot of situations on both the maps that we saw, but they just weren't quite able to make it in a lot of those situations. Even when they got close, the comeback potential from Team Char was just so strong, and they have obviously the potential to go so far here in Best of the West.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get to see much of the heavy arms, but it did really come down to Omni James being able to play that threat, that backlining threat on the Zakutu range, as he was doing throughout the entirety of the map, was doing a fantastic job of just pulling so much of the attention away. And the thing about heavy arms is that you do want to play a little bit more death ball-y. You want to be able to play into one angle, but when you get picked apart like that, it's just too much. So no surprises there that Omni James ends up picking up, of course, the MVP for that game. No surprises there whatsoever. But when we got an opportunity to take a look at the stats when we swapped sides, even though he was, of course, on top of the damage boards, the rest of his team, they were not that far behind. 5 out of the 6 players on that squad, they were above 10,000 damage. So everyone was basically pulling their weight on that team.
That's how it has to be, right? When you're in a game like Gundam Evolution, there are no, set supports. There are no set. I mean, okay, there are obviously, but there's nobody that doesn't do a ton of damage as well. And when you have the strongest teams, they do end up so even like that. I mean, there are a few suits at certain points that tend to get a little bit more damage. Like we tend to see, of course, some of the Ashramars do a little bit more damage sometimes. But you really need damage from everybody. And when you see a team that is like that, just so even across the board, you know that they are a well-coordinated team and they're all putting in a ton of work. So I'm glad to see Team Char do very well in that first match. I'm glad to see that we got to see a few suits that we didn't usually get to see. Again, this has been the first GENL event in over a month. It's the first one since the Season 3 balance patch. So we didn't know exactly what we were going to see or weren't going to see today. I'm glad that we got to see the new Gundam just even in the first match. We got to see heavy arms, even if it was just for a moment. The Zakutu range putting in a ton of work. That's a suit that got buffed. We got to see Hyperion still around, even though that was a suit that got a little bit of a nerf. We got to see just everything. We already have as much, I would say, like variety in suits as we had in maybe the first event of Season 1, if not more already, just within one game, which is great to see.
Yeah, it was a nice little sneak peek into what the meta could be currently, but we still have, of course, our old tried and true Dom Troopers, Ashramars, and Sazabis still sticking around for good measure. Right now that we're going to go ahead and take a short break as we set up our next match. This is the Best of the West presented by Gundam Evolution New Type League. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back.